All right, so I did promise last night that since I cut the reading of Elvis and Kathy short, it was about 11 minutes of the story, that I would do one today that was longer. So I do hear y'all. I can't always do exactly what y'all request me to do, but when I can, I certainly will try to. Thank you to everybody that has left comments, that has watched these videos all the way through. Um, greatly appreciate it. And thank you to those that have been leaving me those super thanks. There's another super thanks that came through. I'm going to showcase it when y'all do that, to give you a shout out, because I do greatly appreciate it. Um, and just remember that the longer you watch these videos, the more they get out there in the public, because YouTube, they have a mix in their algorithm. So basically, they want to see how many likes happen, how long the videos watch, what the interaction is, how many comments. And the more you have that, the more it stays on YouTube, the further it gets ranked up and suggested. So just to give you guys an idea, you ladies and gentlemen are wonderful people, and I appreciate it. So where we left off last night with Elvis and Kathy, Elvis had called Kathy very late in the night, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. She was in the hotel. I guess they obviously were on the road with her boyfriend. She's in bed with her boyfriend, and she thought Glenn D. Harden was calling. And she goes, "No, it's Elvis. I need you right now." So she got dressed, left her boyfriend there in bed, went over to Elvis's suite, and when she got there, sorry, Dr. Nick was coming out and gave her a look like, "You're in for something here." So that's where we stopped, and that's where we're going to start. All right, so here we go. As I entered the darkened room, quite on edge by now, I could barely make out the silhouette of Elvis lying on his bed. He had the water running in the bathroom sink for a soothing sound effect, plus the snow pattern from an off-the-air television channel. That makes me sad right there. Just a view of that, which he'd recommended to us to get some sleep. He also had cotton in his ears to keep him from hearing the outside noise, because there were hundreds of fans outside chanting, "Elvis, Elvis, Elvis." So that's interesting, because, well, in the middle of the night that's happening. I don't know if that's poetic writing there, or whether just in general that happened all the dang time. This happened so often that the sound just became part of the background. The windows, as usual, were covered with tinfoil to keep the sun out so he could sleep. Elvis was not sedated. He hadn't taken any sleeping medication, and this was one time he would have been better off if he had. "Come here, baby, and hold me," he spoke softly. He knew I had my boyfriend with me in the hotel. "I'm sorry I bothered you, but I appreciate you coming up to help me." Well, I was there strictly to help a friend in need, to soothe his disturbed spirit. "What happened?" I asked. She's gone. It's over." I knew he had to mean Priscilla was leaving him, but I still couldn't figure it all out, so Elvis explained. "When I went home, I picked up Lisa Marie, and she told me out of the mouth of babes." "What did she tell you?" She said she saw her mama kissing Mike Stone." "Oh, I knew it was inevitable, but I thought it wouldn't happen like this." My heart went out to Elvis, but I also thought to myself, well, then how did you expect it to happen? I thought of that all the time that he'd shut Priscilla out of his life, all the times he didn't want to go back home. And frankly, I wondered how she'd gone on in the marriage as long as she had. Elvis talked to Priscilla about what Lisa Marie had said, and that's when Priscilla told Elvis she was leaving him. He seemed to understand how Priscilla felt, and knew that a divorce was inevitable, but he hated for Lisa Marie to be involved, and he was upset about his inability to make the marriage work out. "I know we're just not right for each other," he told me, "but I hate to think what we're going to go through. I hate to think of what's going to happen to Lisa." He needed to talk, and we were still talking long after the sun come up. Well, Elvis was doing most of the talking, and I was doing the listening. He was really destroyed over Priscilla's decision to finally leave him. He was so proud of his little family and crazy about his daughter, and it was difficult for him to finally face the truth, the fact that Priscilla was no longer able to stay married to him. We lay there on his bed talking about his fears. All I could do was calm him down and be positive about the whole thing, assuring him that he'd live through it, and that he'd love again, and that it was for the best. As we were holding one another and he was clinging to me, he said, I want you to know I'm grateful for you being here. I can feel you loving me. Elvis was going through the very difficult process of being able to accept Priscilla's decision intellectually, but not able to cope with the reality of it emotionally. It was actually days later that his anger began to build. So let's talk about this here. What do we know about this? Elvis is married to Priscilla. This is 72, 73, somewhere around that time period, more than likely. Priscilla had already had an affair on him, but I think Elvis was understanding enough at that point in time to try to keep the marriage together for Lisa, and maybe for the sake of the ego part of it as well. We all have one, but I think mainly Lisa. So it's not like he wasn't aware that she'd had an affair with the dance instructor. In fact, the Memphis Mafia was like, "You want us to go rough him up? You want us to follow? You want us to take pictures?" And he said, "No, just let her be. She'll figure it out." Basically, and that was 68. So this is 3 years later. So I don't want people that are big Priscilla fans to think, oh, Elvis was tore up. He loved her so much. No, Elvis loved the fact that he was married and had a kid, and that he had the freedom to do what he wanted to do because she was doing what she wanted to do. And so I think it came as a very much a shock to him that she was willing to leave the life and leave Elvis and take Lisa from him. That's my opinion. Kathy has her opinion here. Now, Kathy, she was having an affair with Elvis while Elvis was married to Priscilla. She was part of the problem. Yep, I just said it. Kathy Westmoreland was a huge part of the problem. But at the same time, do I think Kathy loved Elvis? Sure, I do. I think that she loved Elvis, and I think she was there for Elvis, and she was a very good friend in a lot of ways. Elvis was going to be Elvis. Priscilla was going to be Priscilla, as we've been reading in Child Bride. And it was just surprising it happened as long. It took as long for her to leave him because she was making sure she was getting all of her California attorneys together, all of her friends in the business, by living out there, that told her, hey, you can be rich. You can leave Elvis. You're going to have everything you ever wanted. And so when she finally decided to do it, and she didn't care about Lisa. She didn't care about Elvis. She did it and she got her money. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear about how I feel about it. While I'm reading this book. So let's keep going here. It was actually days later that his anger began to build. The thing that got him the most was Mike was supposedly a friend of his, and that he had been paying for Priscilla's karate lessons with Mike. My feeling was that if it hadn't been Mike Stone, it would have been someone else. Now, Kathy doesn't know about the dance instructor. She doesn't know about possibly that singer in Memphis that Priscilla might have had an affair with. This book was written in 87, long before information came out. So Kathy's only working with what she's got to work with at the time. It's not like she was part of Priscilla's inner circle. She wasn't. It had nothing to do with Priscilla, except sleeping with her husband. I know that sounds kind of harsh. It's just a reality. I'm just going to paint it there. My feeling was that if it hadn't been Mike Stone, it would have been someone else. Priscilla was just plain lonesome and felt alienated from Elvis in his life. She needed to be loved and appreciated. Early in the relationship, of course, when I saw Elvis with someone else, I would have a pang of jealousy. As time went on, I truly just wanted him to be happy, and I'm certain he felt that way about me. In fact, during our long relationship, he was with Linda Thompson for 4 of those years. Linda was a former Miss Tennessee. She was fun, vivacious, charming, and one of the most intellectual girls that Elvis dated. She dressed beautifully, with a lot of flash, and spent Elvis's money with great ease. I have to kind of laugh here. Here she is complimenting Linda. All this stuff and happy, and then she takes a stab at her. I mean, whether it's true or not, she said, spent Elvis's money with great ease. It was obvious that they enjoyed one another's company. In fact, many times Linda would go out to dinner with Elvis and his dates. Sounds funny, but Linda accepted it and just concentrated on having a wonderful time. Elvis and I still talked a great deal about spiritual growth, religion, psychic phenomena, astrology, and other metaphysical subjects. We shared a common interest, and he kept telling me about his friend Larry Geller, who was also his hairdresser for a few years. Because of Larry's influence over Elvis and the increasing amount of time the two of them spent together reading books and talking, the colonel and the bodyguards ganged up on Elvis and pressured him to make Larry leave, and he finally did. At one time, Elvis told me he was so involved with the spiritual side of his life that he was convinced he should go to a monastery and was serious about it. I guess this scared everyone to death, and Larry was ousted from the fold for a period of time. They felt that it was his influence that had changed their superstar. Elvis said that he figured out for himself that he could do more for humanity by remaining a popular and influential singer than he could ever do in a monastery. Now, I don't believe Larry told him to go to a monastery. I think that's baloney. I think Elvis had a lot of wonders and searching, and that he felt at one point in time, as all of us do when we have this calling and this, what are we doing with our lives, that we need quiet to try to figure it out, that we need to dedicate something to, sacrifice something in order to let God know, that he's more important. Or some people think she's more important, or, there's a lot of, there's a lot of ideas of who God is. If man is made in God's image, well, guess what? Man is men and women, isn't it? So God would have the image of both man and woman, if you look at it that way. I look at it very intellectually in that way. The thing is, we're taught from our parents about religion. Everybody has gone to a different church or no church. You got Lutherans, Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals, Jehovah's Witnesses. I've been to tons of these churches because I've been on a search myself throughout my life. And the one common denominator is that nobody truly knows anything for certain. It's all about faith, And that's what Elvis was searching for. And Elvis and Larry had probably deep conversations. I would love to talk to Larry Geller, and I suppose I could probably find information on how to get a hold of him. But if any of y'all know Larry or know how to get a hold of him, send me an email, just like Kathy Pitts did for Derry Matera. And I'll get a hold of him, and we'll have some very good in-depth conversations if Larry wants to have them. He's getting up there in age, and and I think he's involved in Elvis Presley Enterprises, and maybe he doesn't want to mess with that, because you start talking and being honest, sometimes you get shut out. We will see. We will see what happens with all that. All right, so let's continue. So he finally understood that God's gift to him was his voice and his plan for Elvis, and for Elvis to use that voice to reach out to others and give them happiness. Elvis said one day, Kathy, you've got to meet this guy. I want you to meet him. Elvis invited him to Las Vegas, and I finally got to meet Larry, which was the beginning of a long and wonderful friendship. That's good to see. We all had so much in common, and soon Larry was back in the fold, a part of the Elvis entourage once again. I think Larry's influence was very good for him, and I know he had missed Larry and his approach to life's mysteries. It isn't easy to just describe my evolving relationship with Elvis. There was always a closeness, even when we were angry with one another. There was always a meeting of the minds on a different plane than the mundane parts of our lives. We still needed one another at times to feel complete. When he wasn't around, I always felt as if some part of me was missing it, and it had nothing to do with sex. It was a much deeper and much more complicated thing than that. Of course, when you're a close friend of the star of the show, there are always people who want you to give them a message or try to make a point with you in order to pass it on to the boss. That happened frequently, especially about his choice of songs or music. And our relationship sometimes brought harmless and humorous remarks from some of those people in the show, but for the most part, they accepted me and accepted the situation without comment. I am really struggling with this chapter, trying to explain my relationship with Elvis Presley. But I guess the best way of all to say it is that we love one another in a very special way. A way that transcended the pettiness of most relationships, and for the most part, we were content with the way that things were and the way that we felt about each other. After the emotionally driven peaks and valleys, we had planted a seed of understanding, which continued to grow for 7 long years and very wonderful years. For the first few months of our relationship, I had let my deep love for Elvis suppress me and make me a slave to my feelings, but our relationship moved steadily from one plateau, from one plateau to another, until it became something that we could both love and appreciate. We were free, yet bound to one another. For better or for worse, just knowing the other was there made us both feel loved and more secure. That's a good point to make, because the last chapter we talked about how Kathy was kind of complaining about Elvis's jealousy and how that Elvis had embarrassed her in front of the guy that was in construction work and that came up and met up with Kathy in front of Elvis. complained about Elvis's jealous remarks. But at the end of the chapter, she kind of wraps it up and says that, that they were both free yet bound to one another. Kathy was bound to Elvis, and she knew it. And Elvis was bound to Kathy. One of the big reasons Elvis Presley back here was so upset about Priscilla leaving is that he had this need to give, to be loving, to know that people were going to forgive him for who he was because of all the extra stressors and pressures. And a lot of people are going to say, well, why should Elvis be treated any differently? Why would anybody treat Elvis any differently? Elvis was one of the most unique individuals in the history of mankind. He changed the world. Like I put in my song. With a move of his hips, with a sneer of his lips. He literally is a huge part of, desegregating America. Accepting the black culture, the music, sexuality. I mean, without Elvis, the world would still be black and white, which is another one of my songs that I got coming up for y'all. It's the truth of it, the truth of the matter. And so I think Elvis understood that. I think everybody around Elvis understood how he changed everything and how everybody acted around Elvis. Not just the people that were in his Memphis Mafia or his band members, but people that came to meet him, like Cary Grant. I saw a story the other day on Facebook. Cary Grant went to go watch an Elvis show. And Cary Grant is a famous actor, as we know. One of the most famous actors ever. And he was in the crowd bawling, crying at Elvis's show. Because Elvis moved him so much. This is somebody that was worshipped by countless millions of people as well on his own as an actor. Cary Grant. Now, we're not talking Curry Grant, the child bride person. Cary Grant, the actor. That's the effect Elvis had on people. So when you have that effect on people, I think that the people that are around you, that are close to you, the Priscillas, that have been around you, the Kathy in Westmoreland, the Red West, the Sunny West, guys like that, girls like that, people that were Linda Thompson, that when they decided to not be part of Elvis's life, or they betrayed him in some way, I think it hit him harder because I think subconsciously he probably thought, don't they know, don't they know all the pressure I'm under and how hard it is for me to be normal? He couldn't be normal. Elvis did not have the ability to be normal. Nobody would let him. The world would not let Elvis be normal. And so there's the great conundrum right there. How do you keep those around that want to have normalcy in a normal relationship like anybody would? Now Priscilla, I don't want to give her a free pass. She wasn't in love with Elvis, in my opinion. She just loved the rock and roll image. She loved the lifestyle. She got trapped into it herself. And then as soon as she possibly could, she escaped it because she didn't really truly have a love for Elvis. She didn't have an acceptance for Elvis. Kathy had an acceptance for Elvis. She stayed. She stayed 7 years. Now, maybe they weren't lovers all those 7 years, but does that matter? She didn't abandon him. She stayed in the show. Yeah, she could have been a solo artist. She could have played on other shows. And some people are going to say, well, she took the money as well. It was a great lifestyle. But I think reading in this book, she had a full relationship with Elvis, a full one, with ups and downs, anger, betrayals, disgust, love, passion, intellectual conversations. But I believe Elvis truly trusted Kathy, that she wouldn't leave. And guess what? Kathy never left. Priscilla left. Linda Thompson left. I don't know about Ginger, but Ginger wouldn't go on the road with him, And and he asked her to, and she didn't want to. So what does that say about Ginger? And now I haven't done a story about Ginger. I will probably get her book, read it, and let you know what I think. We'll have a conversation about that as well. But I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to play some music, and I hope this video is a little bit longer I forgot who left me a comment, but I responded to you as well, that you were disappointed it was only 11 minutes out of the 20-minute video. So give you a little bit longer video today. We're going to keep reading all these books, and remember to click on Rare Elvis Photos, and you'll find the playlist for these books with the title Are You Lonesome Tonight? Elvis and Kathy, Child Bride. And for those of you leaving a super thanks, I greatly appreciate it. If you made it this far, remember I dropped a new video this morning with Daria Matera, the author of Are You Lonesome Tonight? And it is amazing. It's a long interview, conversation, but if you watch nothing else today, you should try to get through that whole conversation, because there's some stuff on there that's going to convince you. Maybe fully, maybe partially, but it's very, very convincing. Stuff I found out, stuff that Derry has mentioned that I don't think anybody's ever asked him before. And you know, he and I have a wonderful rapport talking. He and I are kind of kindred spirits in a lot of ways, and so towards the end of that, we went a little off topic a little bit, but it's good to know the background of the author, right? And it's good. I guess it's good for y'all to know my background too. So, TCB TLC, enjoy the music. Until next time, this is Rare Elvis Photos. Stay tuned. We are going to do some more Are You Lonesome Tonight today. From Here to the Great Unknown, I owe you a reading of that, and perhaps Inside Elvis. Those are the couple others that are coming up today. All right, TCB.
Lisa was the sweetest girl. Her daddy loved her so. Prissy took her to L.A., replaced Elvis with Mike Stone. Then she ran out of cash and sued the king of rock and roll. Made him sell his royalties and play show after show. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. Now that Lisa's gone, she left us with her book, telling us all that Prissy B and Michael Edwards took. Took her joy and took her dreams, took her innocence away. And Prissy has the nerve to still get up on stage. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. She left us with her book, telling us all that Prissy B and Michael Edwards took. Took her joy and took her dreams, took her innocence away. And Prissy has the nerve to still get up on stage. She put Elvis in an early grave, then laughed upstairs at Graceland. At least that's what a witness said, when Prissy should have saved him. Instead she drank poor Elvis and took Lisa Marie away. Elvis fans, they don't forgive her to this very day. Prissy B should lose the Presley name. Prissy B lose the Presley name. He walked on stage with a smile, made our dreams come true for a while. Guitar in hand, moving wild, every scream made him feel alive. shook his hips, people would sigh. If I can dream, he'd touch the sky. Jailhouse rocking all night long, to the rhythm of a rock and roll song. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. Long nights on the road, legends told, stories unfold. From Graceland to the crowd, he played every song loud and proud. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. He shined like the brightest star. Love for that music took him far. Echoes of his voice still live on in every one of his songs. Elvis gave his life for his fans, sang his heart out right till the end. Every note he gave a piece of his soul, because rock and roll made him whole. Here's where music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. Here's where all music ended and began. Elvis gave his life for his fans. The shadow of the king still haunts the Memphis night. In the dimming southern light, Graceland comes alive. He walks those southern halls, his footsteps fall and fall, until those gates up front swing wide and bring his fans inside. Elvis looks out, smiles down at the crowd, from his window way up high at Graceland, watching time go by, watching over us all, day after day, night after night. Memories like a song keeps the king walking on. He is still amazed. We love him to this day. Elvis looks out, smiles down at the crowd, from his window way up high at Graceland, watching time go by, watching over us all, day after day, night after night. Memories like a song keeps the king walking on. He is still amazed. We love him to this day. Elvis looks out, smiles down at the crowd, from his window way up high at Graceland, watching time go by, watching over us all, day after day, night after night, day after day, night after night.
You know what I want? If you made it this far, leave me a comment, all right? TCBTLC, I greatly appreciate and love all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.